Periodically during my research, I get quite frustrated with the lies of Muslim authorities. So I wanted to collect a couple of examples from previous videos and present them to you. Let's start with the Gospel of Barnabas. In spite of this careful, scholarly research on the manuscript, Muslims continue to use the Gospel of Barnabas in polemic against the Bible. In the introduction to their 1907 translation of the book, Lonsdale and Laura Ragg listed the basic reasons why the manuscript must be considered a forgery. However, a number of Muslim publishing houses published the translation without the Ragg's introduction, instead claiming the book's authenticity. This Gospel of Barnabas is a Muslim polemic that should have never gotten off the ground, but it did. It's appeared in numerous Muslim books and on the lips of numerous Muslim authorities. It has been, and to some extent still is, a testimony to the fact that the dishonesty of many Muslim authorities knows little to no bounds. Next, the Quran has been miraculously preserved to the word, letter, and dot. This is demonstrably, repeatedly, overwhelmingly debunked in Muslim sources themselves, as well as by the manuscript evidence. The Muslim sources talk about lost verses, conflicting readings, conflicting numbers of surahs, canonizations centuries after Muhammad, differences within the canonized readings, and differences with the various students who transmitted those readings. We hear of reciters being beaten for using the wrong Quran and multiple destructions of Qurans that did not match the standardized version. And where have Muslim authorities been on all of this? Well, they've been busy spreading the lie of perfect preservation. This lie is so deeply embedded in the Muslim mind that many of them simply cannot conceive of anything other than perfect preservation. What these authorities lack in academic rigor, they more than make up for in rigorous dishonesty. Next, the scientifically miraculous Quran and Hadith and probably some other stuff. But this all started with an identity crisis in the Muslim world. Thus, the 20th century saw Muslim authorities form a commission dedicated to publishing material in support of the theory that the Quran and Hadith contained scientific miracles. And what came as a shock to absolutely nobody who can think critically, the scientific miracles narrative became an intellectual embarrassment. On a recent video related to this topic, I said this. In fact, I'll make a prediction. We will see some of these very same arguments in the comments under this video posted by Muslims who have been lied to by their leaders and shielded from the truth. And guess what happened? I was once again informed of the scientific miracles of Islam. Muslims, you really need to stop this stuff if you want to be taken seriously by others. It's over. It's a hoax. Quit it. Next, the Bible is completely corrupted and or lost. You'll notice a pattern in Muslim polemics. For any perceived strength in their religion, the corresponding area of Christianity against which most of their polemics are tailored has to be as bad as possible. For example, they come up with this doctrine of the infallibility of the prophets, which isn't even in the Quran, by the way. And then, since their prophets are suddenly shining examples of moral excellence, they can condemn the biblical prophets because they sinned. The Quranic prophets are therefore the best ever, which means that the biblical prophets are the worst. Or take the scientific miracles argument. Since the Islamic sources, allegedly, contain numerous scientific miracles, that must mean that the Bible also makes scientific claims. But instead of miracles, of course, it has nothing but scientific errors. Carrying this pattern forward, since the Quran has been miraculously preserved, the Bible must be hopelessly corrupted. And of course, that's the narrative that Muslim authorities have indoctrinated the Muslim world with. They do this in spite of the Quran itself affirming the preservation, reliability, and authority of the Torah and Gospel many, 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 many times. Even their favorite scholar, Bart Ehrman, affirms the reliability of the Bible when he says that no essential beliefs are affected by New Testament variants. How can Muslim authorities indoctrinate their followers with claims of biblical corruption when their own scriptures affirm the reliability of the Torah and Gospel? They lie about it, obviously. Next, the Quran is the eternal word of Allah. There's much to say about this, but let me just briefly state that the Quran did not drop out of heaven. I have hours of videos on this channel looking at pre-Islamic traditions of various sorts that made it into the Quran. What's interesting about this material is that much of it is very conspicuous, like the mythical Solomon who has demons who dive for him, the waters of Noah's flood, how they boil, or the angels bowing to Adam. This material was around before Islam, and it's not in the Torah or Gospel, which is what the Quran claims to affirm. The Quran came into existence through a historical process which incorporated earlier material. The compilation of the Quran should be seen as a horizontal process, occurring along the timeline of history, interacting with pre-Islamic tradition, not as a vertical process revealed from God, because that would be a lie. Next, attacking Christianity is not how you defend your religion. When Muslims aren't busy making the Quran say what they want it to and calling their own sources weak so they don't have to deal with them, they're busy using another very popular tactic. Muslim authorities have taught them this tactic well. Can't defend your religion? Distract. This is what I call the, hey, look over there technique. Again, on my recent video about embryology and the Islamic sources, we have some excellent examples of this. The truth is that this tactic makes you look very weak. It makes you look like you're so unable to defend your religion that you won't even try. Next, Muhammad is the best example we can follow. I'm not even going to go back into the dirt that we find about Muhammad in the Islamic sources. Check the description box for video after video on those topics. But as always, it takes a good purging to get that filth out of your mind afterwards. So what are we to make of all of this? In a recent video, Cruz quoted me as saying, "But any Muslim who reflects on the legacy of their leaders in the last few decades on this issue alone, that issue being the scientific miracle lies, will see more than enough reason to never trust them again, and that is the first step to freedom." Cruz responded, "In my experience, it works the other way around in the Muslim world. Muslims don't mind being lied to by their leaders. Actually, they love it, because they don't care about the truth as long as it defends Islam. But I don't want that to be true. I don't want to think that I'm reaching out to people who like to be lied to. On the other hand, I can't explain why so many massive lies have prospered so well in the Muslim world." Cruz offers some specifics to support his thesis. A Muslim leader needs to start to fear his position in the Muslim community as soon as he starts to speak the truth. Cruz has a point there. When Yasser Qadhi came out with his holes in the narrative interview, polemicists pounced on it, primarily for two reasons. The first reason is that Qadhi appeared to be openly contradicting the lies he had preached about perfect preservation of the Quran. The second reason is that it was an example of a prominent Muslim authority being honest, although intentionally vague, about a very sensitive issue. And what happened? True to Cruz's comment, other Muslims started bashing him, not for telling a lie, but for telling the truth. So Muslims, I would challenge you to go down this list and think about two things. First, these are all popular narratives circulated by Muslim authorities. Second, they're all wrong. And there are a lot more lies that could be added. In Jesus' day, there were leaders of the people who in fact misled them. Jesus had some very harsh words. "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel across sea and land to make a single proselyte. And when he becomes a proselyte, you make him twice as much a child of hell as yourselves." The logic of this verse is simple. The Jewish leaders aren't making it into the kingdom, and they're dragging others down with them. Many Muslim authorities today fall under very similar condemnation. Their judgment is coming. In the meantime, many are reaching out to the Muslim world because we won't stand for these lies. As for those of you who are still being lied to, you shouldn't stand for it either. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.